I've always had a strange relationship with mirrors. They never felt quite right to me, even as a kid. I remember sitting in my childhood bedroom, staring into the small vanity mirror my mom had hung on the wall. My reflection felt off. Not wrong exactly, but there was something unsettling about seeing myself looking back, matching every blink, every movement. I never could shake the feeling that something else was going on behind the glass, like I was being watched. Of course, I knew it was irrational, just one of those quirks I thought that everyone has. But as I grew older, the unease lingered. When I moved into my new apartment a few years ago, I avoided putting mirrors in any room other than the bathroom. Even then, I'd often catch myself staring into the mirror too long, my own face starting to blur in my mind. It became harder to tell if I was looking at myself or something else entirely. It started small, flickers at the edge of my vision, like shadows darting just out of sight in the reflection. I'd tell myself it was nothing, a trick of the light or my mind playing games after a long day at work. But the shadows kept showing up, more frequently, more distinct. One evening, after a particularly long day, I was brushing my teeth before bed. The bathroom was quiet, the hum of the ceiling fan the only sound. I glanced up at the mirror, only to see something flicker behind me. My heart lurched into my throat as I spun around, but the bathroom was empty. Just me, the towel hanging on the wall, and the faint scent of toothpaste lingering in the air. I turned back to the mirror, my pulse racing. For a moment, I thought I saw something. No, someone behind me. A shape, indistinct, like a silhouette. But when I blinked, it was gone. I rubbed my eyes, convincing myself I was just tired. Lack of sleep, that had to be it. I splashed some cold water on my face and went to bed, my mind buzzing with unease. But that wasn't the end of it. Over the next few weeks, the shadow became more frequent, more pronounced. It no longer flitted away when I tried to focus on it. Instead, it lingered, hovering behind me in the reflection. Always just out of reach, its form dark and blurry, like something not fully there. And yet I could feel it, that oppressive weight, the sensation of being watched, like eyes crawling over my skin. I tried to ignore it, telling myself I was imagining things. I'd avoid the mirror altogether, brushing my teeth without looking up, or shaving with my back turned to the sink. But there's something about mirrors that's hard to avoid. They're everywhere, in store windows, in car mirrors, in the reflections on polished surfaces. It didn't matter where I was. I'd catch glimpses of that shadow wherever I turned. Then came the night. It all changed. It was late. The kind of late where the world feels unnervingly quiet, like everything is holding its breath. I was getting ready for bed again, trying to shake off that creeping sense of unease that had settled deep in my bones. I went through the motions, brushing my teeth, washing my face, avoiding my own reflection. But tonight, something felt different. The air was heavy, thick with tension, like a storm was about to break. I glanced up at the mirror, unable to resist the pull anymore. The shadow was there again, but this time it wasn't just a flicker. It was clear now, standing directly behind me in the reflection, its form tall and twisted, as if its limbs were too long, its body stretched beyond what was natural. My breath caught in my throat, my pulse hammering in my ears. The thing behind me didn't move. It just stood there, staring, though I couldn't see its eyes. Its face, if it even had one, was shrouded in darkness, its features lost in the shadows. I wanted to run, but my legs felt rooted to the spot. All I could do was stand there, locked in place, as the thing behind me inched closer. I watched, helpless, as it raised one of its hands, long, bony fingers reaching toward my shoulder. I felt a pressure, light at first, then heavier, like something was pressing down on me, pulling me backward. I couldn't breathe. Panic clawed at my throat as I forced myself to move, to turn around and confront whatever was behind me. But when I spun around, the bathroom was empty. No shadow, no figure. Just me, standing alone in front of the sink. My chest heaved as I tried to calm myself, my mind racing. I was losing it, I thought. It was the only explanation. Stress, exhaustion, maybe even some kind of weird hallucination brought on by sleep deprivation. I couldn't let it get to me. I had to keep it together. I turned back to the mirror, half expecting to see the figure again. But the reflection was empty now, just my pale, wide-eyed face staring back at me. For a moment, I almost believed it was over. But then something shifted. I felt a cold breath against the back of my neck, the sensation of fingers brushing against my skin. And that's when I realized, with growing horror, that the reflection wasn't where the shadow was anymore. It was here, outside the mirror, behind me. I stumbled backward, crashing into the sink as I spun around. The figure stood there, no longer confined to the glass. It was taller than I'd realized, its body towering over me, twisted and wrong. Its skin, or what passed for it, was pale, almost translucent, stretched tight over its angular bones. Its face, God, its face. It was a mask of shadow, empty and hollow, like someone had carved out its features and left nothing behind. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. All I could do was stand there, frozen, as the thing took a step toward me. Its movements were slow, deliberate, like it had all the time in the world. "Get out!" I screamed, my voice breaking. "Leave me alone!" The thing didn't respond. It just kept coming closer, its empty gaze locked onto mine. I backed up, my hands fumbling for something, anything to defend myself. But there was nothing, no weapon, no way to protect myself from whatever this thing was. I was trapped. It stopped, only inches away from me now. Its breath was cold, like a winter breeze brushing against my skin. And then it raised its hand, those long skeletal fingers reaching for me again. I flinched, bracing myself for whatever was about to happen, but the touch never came. Instead, the thing tilted its head, as if studying me, curious, and then, without warning, it spoke. "You are not alone." The voice was a whisper, barely audible, but it sent a chill down my spine. It didn't sound like a person. It was wrong, layered with something else, like a chorus of voices all speaking at once. "You are not alone," it repeated, stepping closer. "You never were." I tried to move, to run, but my legs wouldn't respond. I was paralyzed, trapped in place as the thing leaned down, its face inches from mine. I could feel its breath, cold and damp against my skin. "You saw us," it whispered, "and now we see you." I don't remember much of what happened after that. Everything is a blur, images, sounds, sensations all jumbled together. I remember the thing reaching for me, its fingers brushing against my chest. I remember the feeling of cold, deep in my bones, spreading through me like ice. And then, nothing. Darkness. Silence. When I woke up, I was lying on the bathroom floor. The lights were still on, flickering slightly, casting long shadows across the tiles. My body ached, my limbs heavy as I struggled to sit up. The mirror was shattered, fragments of glass scattered across the floor, reflecting broken pieces of my face. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at the shards of glass. It felt like hours, maybe longer. But eventually, I forced myself to move, to get up and stumble out of the bathroom. My apartment was quiet, eerily so, as if the world had been drained of sound. I couldn't stay there. I packed a bag, grabbed my keys, and left without looking back. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get out, to put as much distance between myself and that apartment as possible. But even now, as I sit in this cheap motel room, Miles away from home, I can feel it. That cold, creeping sensation at the back of my neck, the weight of unseen eyes watching me. I glance at the small mirror above the sink, and for a moment, I swear I see something move, just a flicker, a shadow, darting out of sight. I look away, my heart pounding in my chest. I don't dare look again, because I know deep down that it's still with me. They're still with me. And no matter how far I run, no matter how many mirrors I avoid, they'll always be there, watching, waiting. Because as it said, I am not alone. I never was. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and please subscribe. Your support will help us tremendously. Thank you.